folks, hello. Okay, so today we're talking about a big kahuna. We're talking about how to get gigs. And I chose this topic because with this new educational how to become a musician series, I think this is a really important one to hit near the front. So just so you know, if you're new here, hi, my name's Lauren Ash. I'm a full-time musician. And I started a series where I'm going to talk about all the advice that I currently have up to this point on how to get into becoming a full-time musician, or to how to just become a musician, how to get paid, how to get gigs, how to play at those gigs, all the behind-the-scenes stuff to help you grow on your journey. So today we're talking about how to get gigs, and specifically I'm talking about public events, not private events. I think I'll do a separate video about private events in the future. I also did a video about retirement homes, so if you're interested, like how to get gigs at retirement homes, if you're interested in that, check out the card, or it'll be in the description, the link for that. That's a separate topic. But today we're talking about public gigs, and so let's get into it. So first of all, when I'm trying to find new venues to play at, I like to research on Google. I'll type in like live music on Google Maps, or just like, you know, you can pick an area. I live around the St. Louis area, so you could say like live music in Webster Groves or something like that. And then different venues will come up. Some will have live music and some won't, so you have to kind of like go further down the rabbit hole. But say a place says it has live music, then I'll go on their website, I'll poke around a little bit, look in like the event section or something like that. Or I will go onto their Facebook, and I will go to the events section of Facebook. The reason what I'm looking for is to make sure they have a consistent live music, scene there, and also to see if the musicians that they book are similar to me. If you are new here, I'm an acoustic singing guitarist, so I look for other like soloists who are playing a guitar and singing. I have a more like chill, laid back kind of vibe, so maybe something similar to that. It doesn't have to be the same, but just not something totally different. Like if I see a place that has just all bands or all rock bands or something, I'm like, okay, I'm probably not the right fit for their clientele, so I will let that one go. But there's a lot of places that have people similar to you, so look for that. And I also, sometimes if I'm looking for places, I will look at other musicians that you know around the area, or that have a similar vibe again to you. Look at their Facebooks, see where they're playing, because if they're playing at a place, that place would probably book you as well because you're similar. So that's a great way to find places that for sure have live music, because someone you know is playing there. So I would check that out. Okay, so once you find a venue, then you need to find the contact info. Okay, so for a website, you can look. First thing I do is look on their website, look to see if they have a music section. Sometimes they do, like places that are more into their live music, they'll have a music inquiry section, and that'll have like a contact form to reach out through. If they have that, I do that way because they are expressly saying, if you're a musician, this is how we want you to reach out. But that's more of an exception. Usually that's not what I come across. Usually it's a place, like I play a lot of wineries, country clubs, restaurants, some bars here and there, and they don't have like a music inquiry section on the website. So then you go into like the contact section, and oftentimes you'll find like a generic email, like an info at blah 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 place, and that's an option. But if you can find something a little more specific, if you can find like an event manager or booking manager, anything like that, I mean, I'd rather not send it to someone that you don't know that they're the right person, but sometimes like maybe like a marketing person. Like try to find, if there's a lot of different emails for different people in the company, try to find the one that seems the most correct. If you're not sure, just send it to info. But it's nice if you can find the right person, because you can put like, hi Emily, blah 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 blah, and it's a little more personal. Also, you might be cutting through some of the getting lost in the shuffle if you can just get right to the point. And it shows that you did your research and that you care about their company, that you found the right person, if that makes sense. So, so you try to find a good email. And then if you can't, another place to look is Facebook. A lot of times on Facebook, the About section will have an email. You can also do phone call. Some venues only do phone calls. I personally, this is just a personal thing, I hate phone calls. They really stress me out. And further than that, I feel like when you're booking that, this is just a preference thing too. I'm sure some other musicians would disagree. I'm sure a lot of musicians book maybe only through phone calls, but I like having the paper trail to have like it written somewhere, the rate, the time, the date that we are booked, my contact person, because I'll forget their names because I work with so many people, like, especially if you've never met them, it's just through email or through a phone. I like having all of that written down. And I also find that when I'm sending dates back and forth, it's a lot easier to communicate when you're, trying to deal with a bunch of information, like social media links to like give them an idea of your music, and here's 20 dates or 10 dates that, not 20, here's 10 dates that might look good. Well, yeah, sometimes 20. And it's like, you're sending them a bunch of dates and then they send you back some, I mean? Like doing all of that over the phone is harder. So that's my personal preference, but a lot of people probably do that through phone, but I prefer email if I can. Okay, so now you found some places, maybe you have like a short list of places you're interested in, now you want to email them. Think of the email like a little resume, like a little bio about yourself, but keep it as concise as you can, because these venues are businesses, so they have so much stuff going on outside of music. Music's just like a drop in the bucket for all the stuff they have going on at the venue. And they get a lot of emails every day, and they also get a lot of emails from other musicians. So you don't want to have too wordy of a message, because, and I've been guilty of this, because it can be a little overwhelming, and then they might just like be like, oh, that's a lot to think about right now, I'll think about it later, and then they'll forget. And I know this because now that I have grown in my business and I have my own art business and things like that, I get more emails, and not even on the same level they would. And if something is too daunting, I will sometimes like put it to the back burner and I'll forget. So that's just what happens. They're busy folks, so keep it as short as you can. I know we as artists sometimes like to be, when we're talking about music or anything, we want to be a little more expressive and say a lot of things, but this is not the place to do it. You want to keep it simple and sweet. I like to mention either the booking manager's name and or the business name right up front in the email. My subject line is usually something like music inquiry - musician Lauren Ash, or booking music for 2026 - musician - Lauren Ash. Anything like that, just make it very clear, like, I'm a musician, I'm booking, like, I'm looking to book, that's what I'm here for. And I like to mention their name and their business in the first line in my name, because it lets them know I'm not a bot or a scammer. There's so many scams out there nowadays that, like, when I get an email, if it's something like, hi at Music Lauren Ash, blah, 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 I just ignore it. I don't even read it, because I'm like, you didn't even take the time to realize my name is Lauren out of my tag. Like, no. And you can tell when it's just like a generic email. So, just right up front, making them know that you're not a scammer. Super important. Making them know you're a real person. So I like to say, something like, hi, Emily, I'm Lauren Ash. I'm a full-time acoustic singing guitarist, and I wanted to talk with you about booking at 9 Mile Garden or whatever. You know what I mean? So you just, that's a business around here. And so, Although I don't know if anyone named Emily works there, but so something like that. Then the next section, I want to mention like to highlight your strengths. So I like to talk about like anything that sets you apart from the crowd, anything that you think is like a shiny point to you as a musician. So I mentioned that I have a degree in like a bachelor's in music vocal performance. I don't know if that does me any good, but I feel like it's impressive and it lets them know I'm serious. So I mentioned that. I mentioned that I'm full-time because, again, I think that shows like it indicates a history of doing this, and also that, you know, I'm looking to book a lot. But if you're not full-time, like, no worries. Like, this took me years to get here. I've been performing professionally where I've got paid to some degree for 13 years, and I've been full-time for like 3. So, you know, it takes a while. Like, this is where I am now. It's not where I started, and I'll get into more of that later. But, kind of mentioning like anything like that, like full-time, or what else do I mention? Sometimes I'll say I'm local because I think people like to support local people. I know I do. And, you know, lets them know like just another highlight about you. Just like anything that, you know, is something that sets you apart. I mentioned that my songs are memorized. I mentioned that. Just like throw that word in there. I don't like harp on it, but just a little bit so they, you know, if they pick that up. I talk about that I play a wide range of songs because I do think that's a selling point for my type of music, just because, you know, it's really, I get a lot of good feedback at crowds that people like that there's a little bit of something for everybody. So I'll say I play anything from Elvis to Taylor Swift, you know, like I say that as like a brief descriptor of what to expect. I say I play like I play popular covers spanning the genre and decades is usually what my little wording is. But that is just for my particular, you know, situation. But like, say you're in a band, say you're an 80s cover band, right? So your strengths are going to be different than my strengths. Your strengths are going to be, probably you're going to look for places more like bars or clubs that have other musicians that play music similar to yours. You know, you're going to talk from the place of someone like, oh, we're a 4-piece band, like maybe talk about energy, I mean, I'm not sure because this isn't my expertise there, but like, you know, tailor to what your specific niche is or what you bring to the table, because it's different for everybody. And, you know, what makes you unique is special, and then that's what's going to get you booked. Like, you can't be everything at once. Like, I don't play many bars because I'm not that kind of a performer. I'm more of like a have a glass of wine, have a nice dinner. I'm not like, you know, let's get partying on a Friday night. That's not really me. And I know that. So like when I play at a bar, I usually play on a Thursday night or like an acoustic afternoon set before the bigger set on a Saturday, you know? So like know where you fit best, and that'll help when you're looking for gigs too, because you can kind of be like, you know, I saw you have an acoustic night. I'd love to play for acoustic night if you're like me. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it's a long-winded way of saying highlight your strengths. You know, talk about the type of music. I talk about, I mention the amount of songs. I say I play, depending on how many songs I have going at the moment. Like, you know, you could say like I have over 100 songs in my repertoire, over 200 songs, 300 songs, whatever it is for you. If it's under 100, I don't think I would add that. Not that that's not impressive, it totally is. Like, I know how hard it is to know all those songs, but, you know, I don't know that it's a selling point, so you at least hit 100. That's just my personal opinion. I don't know. That's just my advice. But then if you don't have 100, then you highlight the types of songs, or, you know, whatever your particular gifts are. Then I talk about what kind of, I say like I have my own equipment, so all I need is 30 minutes to set up and an electrical outlet. That's like my little blurb about that. You might need longer, especially if you're new to the musician scene. I'd give yourself more time than 30 minutes. But I've done so many gigs now, I know how long it takes, and sometimes it takes even less than that, you know what I mean? So it also helps if you know a venue, like you know what to expect when you get there. But if you're a new musician, you know, opt for some more time. And then I also talk about, like live music examples. So I'll say, here's some links so you can get an idea of my live performances. If you can do a live video, that's best, I think, because it gives them a true idea of what it would be like when you're live. But if you don't have those yet, then just send, you know, here are some examples of my performance style, and just send some videos of that. I think it's really good as a musician to have a YouTube. I mean, obviously I'm here on YouTube, but I think it's good as like a marketing thing, especially for booking, because if you have a place to send them with lots of examples of how you sound, of different songs and all that, it's just really helpful. It's essentially like an online portfolio as a musician. So if you don't, I would recommend slowly building that up, you know, post a couple covers a month if you can, and then, you know, over time you can show them that. At this point, sometimes I would tailor like which links I send to different places. I would pick certain ones depending on the venue vibes, but now I usually just send a link to my YouTube, because I have so much on YouTube and I feel proud of it. And also, again, I'm trying not to inundate them with too many choices and too many words, and so I'm just like, here's the one link. I used to also put my socials, I put like links to Facebook, Instagram, my Google business page, which I never use, but it's there for people to find, you know, YouTube, etc. But I also have been not doing that, just because, again, I feel like it's overwhelming, and what I really need them to see is what I sound like, and I think YouTube's my best way to show that. So whatever your best way is, give them some way to hear you. That's super important. Otherwise, why would they book you? They have no reason to. You know, they're a business. They need to make sure that you sound good. they need to, you know, check the product before they buy it. Then I obviously thank them, because you know, you want to show them you appreciate their time. And then I will put my name, my phone number, and my @ for socials. So I'll put @musiclaurenash underneath my name, so they can reach out if they want to. And yeah, so I send that, and then this is the interesting part. So with cold emailing, which is what you're doing, sometimes you'll get a response that day, sometimes you'll get a response in the next few days, sometimes you'll send lots of emails and hear nothing, sometimes it'll be 3 or 4 emails in, you'll hear something, 7 emails in, like, it really varies. And again, this is just my experience. I'm by no means an expert. I will learn over the years as I do this, and I'll probably have updated videos for you guys later. This is just what I know now. So I would give each place at least 5 emails before I maybe would quit on them. And sometimes I go farther, you know? So after I send my first email, I wait a full week before sending a follow-up. My follow-up one usually, again, this is even shorter than the first one. They already have your previous email. I just reply, like add it to the email chain from the last one. I'll put, a lot of times my second email I'll send will be, "Hi, I'm Lauren Ash," reminding them I wanted to book. Here's a link to my reviews. I'm on a site called Gig Salad. So like, here's a link to my reviews, or you could send them reviews from Facebook, or if you have any reviews, you know, just a quick link. I'd love to book with you guys. Thank you so much. You know, it's very succinct. If you don't hear anything, a week later, I send like a basic follow-up, just like, "Hi, I'm Lauren Ash. I'd love to talk to you more about booking, blah, blah, blah." I don't add any new info. I just kind of reiterate what I want to talk about. Maybe 4th week, I'll send a couple live music examples of specific links, you know, that I think would be great for them. 5th week, another basic follow-up. And this one I might mention, like, am I speaking to the right person? Because sometimes, you know, maybe you're not speaking to the booking person, and then they might send your information along to the right person if you just put that little bit of wordage like, am I talking to the right person? Yeah, and then after that, it's up to you if you want to keep knocking on the door or not, but hopefully you'll hear back. I mean, also don't get discouraged. I send out a lot of emails, and it's like a job resume. Like, you're gonna send out a lot of applications and you're only gonna get a fraction back. So don't get discouraged if you don't hear back from people. It doesn't mean anything about you. It honestly might have not even looked at your emails. They might have not even looked into your music. It doesn't mean anything about you as a performer. It means that it wasn't the right time for them to want to book, for whatever their reasons are. Maybe they don't have budget, maybe they're busy, maybe they're full of musicians, maybe whatever. So don't take it personally. Yeah, I think in your correspondence, it's also important to be eager and grateful, but not overly so. I'm also guilty of this. I'm a pretty bubbly person sometimes. I want to put, especially in written form, I want to put all the exclamation points. I want people to hear my friendliness, but I think sometimes it can be a little overwhelming. There's also a lot of different types of people. Some people are the same energy as you, and some people are like, whoa. So I try to find like a middle ground that shows that I'm interested, that I'm friendly, but not like, just check your exclamation point game. You don't want too many. And you don't want to appear too desperate either. Like, you don't want to be like, please book me, you know, anything like that. It's tempting to, because you really want them to book you. You want them to know that you're interested, but it's like anything in life. Like, if you come at it from a place of confidence and like, I'd like to work with you, but I don't have to work with you, I think that that is more appealing, you know? So keep that in mind. Grateful, eager, succinct, not desperate, okay? When they respond, yay, they responded. It's such a good feeling. Even if it's a no, it's a great feeling, because at least they freaking responded, right? You get a lot of different responses. Sometimes it'll be thank you, but no, for different reasons. Maybe they're full, they don't have any more room in their lineup, they don't have the budget, or they don't do music, you know? Sometimes you'll be on like we'll add you to our list, which honestly can be a little frustrating because it's like, what does that mean? But we'll add you to our list. And normally how I reply to that is just like, thank you so much for getting back to me. I'm happy to fill in for any cancellations / openings you have. And sometimes I'll ask, when do you guys start booking for next year? Because usually venues have a time of year they start booking. So if you can kind of hit them up for that, maybe you can know when to reach out to get in the lineup. Which kind of leads into the next one. Sometimes people say like, oh, we're full, we're not booking yet, but thank you. And I also say a similar thing like, oh, can I fill in for any cancellations? When do you start booking for next year? Like, you want to know when to get in there with them. And then the best ones are when they're like, yes, we are interested. And you say, great. And then you start talking about the details, which let me get into that now. So, you know, you have to kind of work off what they're saying, obviously. It's not like a cut and paste situation. Sometimes they will bring up rate. Sometimes they will bring up dates. Sometimes you have to leave that because they're not. And it's, you know, someone's got to talk about it. So if they say, yes, we're interested, we'd like to book you, and they bring up rate and dates, awesome. If they don't, then I bring up dates and rate. I like to make sure that the rate is talked about before you completely confirm any dates, because you don't want to make a commitment that, you know, you haven't talked about rate and then you're not happy with the rate. So just make sure, like, if you guys are talking about dates, just throw that in the conversation in the email. I have a whole separate little tangent on rate, which I'm going to get into here. So if you are looking to make money as a musician, you are a business. So treat yourself like a business. You know what I mean? Come at it from a place of confidence. think of it, put on your business woman hat, your business guy hat, and you know, you got to get comfortable talking about this because you're a business person now, okay? So have an idea of what rate you want before going into these conversations so you can feel confident. If their rate that they're offering is way lower than what you want, then I usually like say, like for wineries, I usually do 100 to 125 at this current point in my career per hour. But say they wanted 50, they were going to do $50 an hour. Then you have to, like, you have to ask yourself, what amount are you willing to take and what amount are you willing to let go? So I would send something back in that case, like, thank you so much for talking with me about this. I usually also kind of confirm, like, or reaffirm, like, okay, I totally get budget's a thing, like, I totally understand, because I do. And then I'll say, like, my typical rate is $100 to $125 an hour for wineries. Can we work on, like, can we meet in the middle? Can we work on this? Something like that. You can also, if this is something you're interested in, you can mention, like, do you guys do, like, food compensation, drink compensation? I used to do more of that back in the day. I'm now leaning more into, like, I would rather be paid, because again, this is my income, you know, so that's a different way of thinking. If you're not full-time, then you don't have to think like that, but yeah, but you want to advocate for yourself. You know, in life, you don't get anything unless you ask for it, so don't be afraid to know your worth and ask for it. The worst thing is they'll say no, you know what I mean? And you're not going to get a yes unless you try. So don't ask for some crazy amount. Like, know your worth, know where you're at in your career, do a little research, but, you know, advocate. It's also obviously different for different venues. Some places have more money than other places. Sometimes you want to do, you really, like, I'm playing at a place that's paying me less, coming up here soon, but I think this is a really cool venue and I want to make this connection. I think it'd be a great networking opportunity. So sometimes there's non-cash incentives, like marketing or networking or just a cool venue, exposure, things like that, that make it worth it. So yeah, just have to kind of balance it out for what's worth it for you. I also, whenever I talk about rate, I say, you know, my typical rate is blah 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 an hour. Sometimes I'm compensated with food or drink, and I put out a tip jar. I always mention that. The food or drink is up to them if they want to offer food or drink, but that gives them a chance to say, like, oh yeah, we offer free drinks to musicians, or we give you a free meal, or whatever. They'll mention that often if you kind of word it in there. And I like always mentioning that I put out a tip jar, so that way, again, it's in writing that you can put out a tip jar, and if they have an issue with it, then they will talk to you about it then in the email. And I play at some country clubs that are non-tipping country clubs, so then they'll be like, oh, we're a non-tipping club, and I'm like, okay, cool. In that case, my rate is $25 an hour more, because that compensates for me not being able to put out a tip jar, and usually they're fine with that. So yeah, that's some advice about rate. I know this is a very long video, but hold with me, folks, because I feel like there was so much to talk about on this, and a lot of this info is stuff I wish someone would have told me when I started. Like, so much of this was just trial and error, because it feels like no man's land when you're out there starting this. So if you want to do like phone calls, power to you. Pretty much everything I just talked about, you do all of that, but just like in a condensed form. But if you're gonna make a phone call, know exactly what you are willing to accept money-wise, because you're in the moment. Like, you need to be able to confidently discuss that. Usually though, on that first phone call, like, rate might get brought up, but you know, either way, it's gonna be like here's my socials, here's how you can find me, here's my phone number, here's all the reasons you should book me, like that initial strengths conversation, and then they'll probably get back to you because they have to go check you out. But just make sure you have all your ducks in a row before you make that phone call. So usually they'll send you some dates, or you'll send them some dates. I usually ask like, what would you guys prefer, or take the lead of whatever they're doing. You confirm which ones look good for you, and they'll say, I'll add them to my calendar, and now you have dates. You want to make sure you know the time, and all of that. But then, yay, you've booked a gig. It is that easy and that complicated. No, it's not too bad. You'll get the hang of it. So then I go write it in my calendar. I double check that I have the right time and date, because you don't want to have a mistake. And I don't do contracts currently, just because I just feel like it's a little like constricting. I feel like it's almost like right up front being like, I don't fully trust you. I'm sure the safer way to do business would to be always have a contract, absolutely. But I look at it like, if someone doesn't pay me, I just won't ever work with them again. That's a risk I'm willing to take. There's probably also some like legal stuff maybe that you should have a contract for, but I personally just don't. So I'm just a girl on the internet. I don't have any legal expertise. This is just what I do. Yeah, but I will send invoices sometimes to country clubs. They like to have invoices. So I'll write up an invoice for them. And let me know if you want to know a video about invoices, because once the first time someone asked you for an invoice, it was like, oh, what? And then I had to go look it up. It's not too bad either. Then I'll go make a social media event on Facebook. I post all my events on Facebook. So I'll do that. Quick plug, if you want to see me play somewhere, check out @musiclauranash on Facebook. Post all my events. And then I put it in my bookkeeping Excel sheet, the amount I'm gonna get paid, etc. So I can kind of have a projections of the income for each month throughout the year. Yeah, and then sometimes venues will reach out leading up to the gig to just like verify that they're set with you for like the coming weekend or whatever. And if they do that, cool. I just be like, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But I don't reach out to them because I've done so many gigs, I don't feel like I need to. Like, I haven't had any issues with it. Again, that's a personal thing. I think if you don't, like, think about the day of, like, do you know where you need to go? Do you know who to talk to? If you have any questions, talk to them about that before the day of the event. That way you're totally clear, you don't feel stressed. Plan extra time for yourself in case anything goes wrong, especially if it's a new place and you don't know the layout, you don't know how to get all your gear in there, etc. So, give yourself room for error. Yeah, and then some other things too is like, okay, so when I first started, I played at like coffee shops that really didn't even have music. It was just like, hey, I'm a musician, I'd love to be able to play at your coffee shop. Like, I got paid like a coffee, or just tips, so I think it's a really good place to start, because like when you're new, like, let's be honest, you're nervous, you feel like it's a lot of pressure, maybe to get, like, maybe you feel like you're over your head, like, oh, you're gonna pay me to play, like, I don't even know what I'm doing, like, that's the stuff in your head. But so I think that like the early gigs where you're kind of just doing it for free, you're doing it for tips, you're doing it for a coffee, is great to get your confidence, to get your feet wet and get started. But also, I have discovered over time that musicians are often underpaid, and that makes me crazy. So don't let yourself get stuck in like a mindset of like, oh, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough for too long. Like, just do it enough to get the confidence and then start to advocate for yourself to get paid some amount. Again, you won't get anything unless you ask for it. So yeah, I wish I would have, like, not I wish, because like I think everyone has a growth journey, but like I look back on those gigs and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could have I could have got more than that. You know what I mean? Maybe not at that venue, because if you're playing at a coffee shop, they don't have the money, but maybe you're playing at a bar or something, or maybe instead of trying to play at a bar, you try to play at a winery, you know what I mean? So yeah, just, keep working on the growth. And I think once you have like say you only have like an hour worth of music or less, that's the times to like go to coffee shops and just get the performance experience. If you have an hour, retirement homes are a great idea, because a lot of those gigs are an hour. Again, check out that video. But once you find yourself starting to get into like the 2 to 4 hours of repertoire of music, then you can start doing these bigger gigs at country clubs, wineries, bars, private events, other venues like that. That's the time, and that's when you'll start making some more money. Yeah. Also, other things I want to mention is there's other ways to book. There's private events, which I talked about, which will be a separate video, and there's other sites like I use a thing called Gig Salad. It's essentially just like booking websites. So Gig Salad, you as a performer, and it can be any type of performer for Gig Salad, so it could be like a magician, a juggler, a dancer, tattoo artist. I don't know if they do tattoo artists, but you know what I mean, like any kind of service or performer can put up like a profile on Gig Salad, and then when someone's looking to book an event, they'll go to Gig Salad and they'll look for, like for me, I'm a singing guitarist, they'll look for singing guitarist, and then they'll send out leads, and then you send like a quote, and you either will or won't get the gig. And there's other sites like Gig Salad, that's not the only one, obviously. Some that I could think off the top of my head were like Wedding Wire and The Knot, or like wedding websites, and they're similar kind of things. I think you need to consider the pros and cons of that, because pro is it's bringing you some level of leads without much work. It's kind of like passive leads. Con is that you are often paying like either a membership fee and or a cut of your earnings on those gigs. So there's that. But then you're also another pro, you're also maybe making connections that could lead to future gigs outside of that platform. A country club I play at called Wing Haven, they booked me for the first time on Gig Salad, and I've played there for years. So outside of Gig Salad, we did that first gig through Gig Salad, and then the rest were just us working it out. So that's something to consider too, and that's another way to get more gigs. And like different venues will also have different budgets and price points. Typically coffee shops and bars, especially coffee shops, are on the lower end. Bars, I notice, often don't pay quite as much, but not always, it depends. Restaurants and wineries are more like middle to upper budget amounts, and then country clubs usually have more, what I've noticed. So that's good information to have going into the rate conversations. Yeah, this is where I'm at currently in my quest for how to book a gig journey. I'm sure I've forgotten some things to tell y'all, and I'm sure I'll have more tips in the future. And maybe I'll do an updated video if I have more info to share later on. But I just wanted to share what I knew now. And I want to tell you guys, I want to leave you with a little bit of motivation. When you're starting, again, it's so easy to feel like it's just so vulnerable to get up on stage and perform, and everybody's staring at you, and you feel like everyone's judging you, and now you're getting paid, and you feel like you have to really bring it, and yes, you should provide a good value for the venues, but also everything's a journey, everything's growth. You're doing something that not everybody can do. You're making music, and as long as you show up on time, give it your best, and learn, you'll be fine. So don't sweat it. Reach out to these places. Again, what's the worst they're gonna say? No? Okay, they said no, you didn't have that gig to begin with. So just try for things, and if you reach out to someone and they say no, a year later you can try again, or however long later you can try again when you've improved your skills, and you're always improving, you're constantly growing. Like where I was 3 years ago to where I am now is so different. I have one venue I play at, they tell me every time I'm there, they tell me I'm better than the last time I was there, you know? So yeah, you're constantly growing, and the only way to grow is to do it. So just get out there, get some gigs on the lineup, and start doing. So let me know in the comments if you guys have any advice on how to book gigs. I would love to hear more advice, and I think it'd be really helpful for all of us aspiring musicians. Also, let me know if you guys have any particular topics you're interested in hearing about on this educational series that I'm doing here on my channel. I'd love to hear your feedback, and you know, always like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you haven't, check out the playlist for all of the educational videos on how to be a musician. I hope this brought you guys some value, and I hope it inspired you a little bit. I love hearing, like, when people tell me that anything I say inspires them, I'm like, God, it feels so good. So I hope I did that for y'all today, and I hope I help. I know the beginning of trying to book gigs can be a little weird and messy, and it's nice to have like a friend to help you along the way. So hope to be that friend for you guys. All right, thank you so much. Again, my name is Lauren Nash, and I make all kinds of videos like this. If you liked it, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.